When you go online, you're bombarded by these entrepreneurs, these business owners, all telling you the secrets and the things they had to do. Well, while they all have a different message to get out, at some point they all say something very similar, right? Which is business owners are going to tell you that one of the most important factors in a successful business is having access to money, capital, right? Unfortunately, a lot of business owners find it difficult to get the business financing that they need from banks and any other traditional type of lending sources, right? So this is going to leave a lot of small businesses with no choice but to seek out government grants from federal agencies or state and local governments to get that extra money they need to grow either a new or an existing business. So that's what we're going to dive into. We're going to dive into these business grants that you can get, how to get them, how to apply, ones that are relevant for you, right? But the first thing how we want to start off with is how do they even work? How do small business grants work? First off, small business grants are a type of funding that small business owners can apply for to help them with startup cost or expansion. Now, to be eligible for a small business grant, owners have to own a legally registered business and typically have to meet certain criteria. As an example, some grants are available only to minority owned businesses, or only to veteran owned businesses, or women owned businesses, etc., etc. The list goes on and on, right? There are even local grants for local small business owners. One of the great things about small business grants is that they don't have to be repaid as traditional business loans do. Okay, well, now that you get the gist of it, how are you going to find these grants, right? Like, there's so many. How do you find the one that's relevant to you and your business? Well, small businesses can use grants.gov, right, to find a grant program offered by state and local governments to receive financial assistance. Now, while it might take some time to research and apply for grants, the process can be very worth it. Especially if you get approved and you get the funding, right? And by taking advantage of these grant programs, you can obtain resources you need to grow and succeed. So don't be afraid to, go to grants.gov and kind of search around, right? Maybe do a little bit of browsing if you're thinking about starting a business or if you have a business and you want to expand. You might find a grant program that is perfect for you and you could apply and get the money that you thought that you weren't going to get. Speaking of applying, how are we going to do that? Right? How do you apply for them? Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it a bunch of paperwork? How long does it take? So many questions. Okay. Well, if you're wondering how to get a grant for a small business to help with those costs, right? You can just apply, right? And you might think, before you start applying, you might think to yourself, this is going to be awful. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be. Let's look at some simple steps that's going to help you when you apply for one. So the first thing we want to look at, do your research, right? I just told you that, right? Make sure you go and look because there's so many different types of small business grants available. So it's going to be very important that you do your research, do your due diligence, and you find the one that's right for you. There is no one size fits all. There is no your friend got this, so you can get this, right? There's other things, to look at. The Small Business Administration's website, it's a good place to start your search. Now, number two, put together a strong application. When you're ready to apply for a small business grant, you need to make sure you put together a strong application. Your application should include information about your business plan, your financial situation, and why you deserve the grant. Right? When someone looks at your application, you want it to be as evident as possible that you know what you're doing and you're not going to waste the money. Okay? Now, number three, make sure you follow up with a funding agency. Because once you've submitted your application, you need to make sure that you're following up to show them that you're serious about your business, right? And this is also going to give them an opportunity to ask any questions they might have, right? So you're calling to make sure that they received it, they're still processing it, but if they have any questions for you or if you have any questions for them, it makes it a little bit easier and it might make it go a little bit faster. So speaking of questions, let's talk about some of these frequently asked questions. So, where can you find grants for small businesses? Well, as we said earlier, grants.gov, right? But small businesses can find through you can find small business grants through just a ton of online databases, right? The Small Business Administration's website is another one, right? If you just Google small business grants, I guarantee you there's just going to be lists, right? Again, you just need to do the research. Then you have small business development centers, right? Women's business centers, some private corporations, and the National Association for the Self-Employed. They're also going to provide you with some good information about any grant opportunities. Now, you can also search for grants through your state's website or the website of your local chamber of commerce. Well, can you get small business administration grants for small businesses? The answer is generally no. So, the SBA does not directly offer grants to anyone who has their own business. However, they do operate the program for investors and micro entrepreneurs, right? Which provides federal grants to micro enterprise development organizations. So, like they don't, but kind of do. It's a gray area. We'll leave it at that. So, one of the last things we want to talk about is what happens if you don't use the grant money properly? Or what happens if you start your business, you get the grant, and you go out of business? What happens then? If you don't use the money properly, they're probably going to ask you to repay the grant in full. Just if it's just like if it was a business loan. Now, this includes any federal government grants program. Now, if you go out of business, you may be required to repay the grant money if you are unable to provide documentation showing how the grant was used, right? So, if you need to document, this is how we used the money, showing, good evidence that you didn't waste it. You put forth, you put your best foot forward. You tried, and you'll probably be okay. But in some circumstances where you can't provide documentation, you can't show like you use the money properly. I mean, they're probably going to ask you to pay it back. So just be careful about that. So if you're looking for your new business, or if you're looking to grow your small business, go look at those grants. We talked about a couple different websites: grant.gov, Small Business Administration, local chamber of commerce, your state's website. Go look them up. Go just research all the different grants, and maybe one pops out at you like, oh, I didn't think they'd have a grant for this. So just do your research, and hopefully, and I hope you get it if you apply for one. I want you guys to do well, right? So if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you did. But until I see you guys in the next one, y'all be safe.